Okay. So my name is Lizzy Hoffmann. I work with Eclipse Geomatics in Smithers, but I'm talking today on behalf of the Skeena Knowledge Trust. So I'll be talking about collaborative mapping with the Skeena Maps portal, which is a project of the Skeena Knowledge Trust. So I'll start with a little background on the trust and then talk about our portal. So the Skeena Knowledge Trust is a nonprofit organization. It's structured as a trust, so the project is governed by a legal trust agreement, and that sets out the purpose and the governance framework of the organization. The trust was established in 2017 as part of a multi-year collaboration between the Bulkley Valley Research Center, the Office of the Wet'suwet'en, Skeena Wild Conservation Trust, and the Pacific Salmon Foundation. And the purpose of the trust is to improve information management and support more informed decision-making about salmon ecosystems in the Skeena watershed. So, some of the information management concerns that drove the creation of the trust were lack of access to information. So here we're talking about salmon ecosystem information, and that includes things like water quality and quantity, salmon population, habitat information. So quite a wide variety of information in a wide variety of formats. Another concern is data integration across integrations and across the watershed. For anyone who's not familiar, the Skeena watershed is really large. It stretches from east of Houston to Prince Rupert. So integrating data and projects throughout that large geographic area is challenging, and maintaining integration even within areas of projects maintained by different groups is also challenging. There's also no consolidated system to access multiple sources of salmon ecosystem information. Some of you are probably familiar with systems like DataBC, EcoCat, federal systems. There's a number of others, and then there's also large amounts of data that is maintained privately. People might just keep it on their laptops, and that data is not easily accessible to other users. And finally, there's a lack of resources and tools by organizations to manage and store information, in particular spatial information, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. So, in response to these information management concerns that were identified, the Skeena Knowledge Trust has created two knowledge tools, the Skeena Salmon Data Center and the Skeena Maps portal. The Skeena Salmon Data Center is an open access knowledge archive, and the goals are to provide permanent storage and public access to salmon ecosystem data in the Skeena, and to provide data management services for small organizations. But this is a mapping conference, so I am going to be talking about the Skeena Maps portal, our other tool. So the Maps portal is a open access collaborative mapping portal. It's developed using open source GeoNode software, and it allows users to view and download spatial layers, view and print maps, create their own maps and save those in the portal or print them, and manage organizational spatial data. We currently have about 120 layers in the portal, sourced from the provincial and federal governments, research projects that have been carried out in the region that might generate things like sampling points, local organizations that have spatial boundary files, sampling points similar, and then we also have 30 maps right now that are created by us or by users who are creating their own maps. And the overall goal of this project is to provide basic mapping capabilities for small organizations. So a lot of smaller organizations, maybe local conservation organizations, some First Nations governments, lack internal GIS capacity. It's expensive to have a GIS technician in-house, and having maps created by consultants is also expensive. But these organizations often have a lot of spatial information needs. So the goal is to provide not a full GIS system, but some basic mapping capacity in an easy-to-use format. So I'm just going to give a quick overview of what the Maps portal can be used for, how it's applied. Users can search the portal to find layers that they're interested in, and then once they do find a layer based on these thumbnails and quick descriptions, they can enter the layer view, and this is a basic kind of web mapping view, so they can interact with the layer data, see a legend, get metadata information and attributes, and then use tools like an identify and a measure tool to kind of interact with that data in a simple way. Maps can be searched in the same way. So the majority of the maps that we host are publicly accessible. So maps like these that have been put together as part of particular projects can be viewed and downloaded by any user. And maps can be viewed in a similar way to layers, so a user can work with that map in a little more detail. And then we also have a map viewer that they can enter if they're more interested in the map. And the map viewer, although not a full GIS system, does have some mapping capabilities. So users can add, rearrange, and remove layers. They can choose different styles. They can change the base map, and they can use identify and measure tools and then perform basic queries as well. And then once they've created a map that they're happy with, they can save that map and share the URL with collaborators, or they can print out a copy for their report. Another thing that we are working on using the Maps portal for is spatial data management. Often this is something that's a real challenge. Organizations may create spatial layers, for instance, a set of sampling points or field data that they've collected, but then that data often it gets lost because smaller organizations that are maybe run by volunteers don't have the capacity to permanently store that data in a way that's accessible. So organizations can upload layers to our system along with metadata, and then these are permanently stored, and they can be managed either publicly or privately. So organizations can make data public to anyone. They can make them only accessible to the user who's uploaded them, or they can make them accessible maybe to a small group of collaborators, but no one else. Okay, and finally, I mentioned the Skeena Salmon Data Center, which is our knowledge archive earlier. It's a separate tool from the Maps portal, but we try to maintain connections between the two. The Maps portal is only for storing spatial data, whereas the Skeena, the Salmon Data Center, can store a much wider variety of formats. So we try and maintain connections between the spatial side of a project and the non-spatial side. So you can see here in the identified result for this point that there is a URL in the bottom red circle, and that leads to a data set in the Salmon Data Center that contains water quality sampling information for this station. And then we take it back the other way too. This is an image from the Salmon Data Center, and that shows a link back to a Maps portal map. So we have here some PDF resources in the data center, and then a link to a spatial map that users can explore. Okay, that's all I have.
There's time for questions for Lizzy.
Were a lot of those features out of the box, or did you have to do a lot of customization and build that?
The kind of basic functionality is kind of comes with GeoNode, so the layer search, layer view, map search, map view, and then we've kind of overlaid a template over it that's the appearance of it. The GeoNode software is reasonably challenging to work with out of the box, so a lot of our challenges have come with getting it to actually work the way it's supposed to work, but it's coming along.
I have a quick question about, since you're saying you got water quality data in there, like that's my own stomping ground. You've got the DFO on board with this too, because you do have the links for the water quality stuff, or is it just like you're directing them to the DFO and this is mainly citizen data that you're collecting for it? So I'm just
Interesting
wondering-
question. Yes, so it really varies between projects. We do have some projects that we're working on with DFO staff in Smithers, but the Salmon Data Center in particular has a really wide variety of data. So we have a large number of historical reports that are archived there. We have some ongoing projects, and we do have some water quality sampling that's being done as a DFO project that's continuing and that's in the Salmon Data Center. We're looking at some citizen science projects as well, so it's very project dependent.
Do you have a question, Sarah?
I think it's already been answered, but I was going to ask about, is the data more locally based, or is it more broader? You know, you're talking about salmon data, affects other
Yeah.
areas in the province.
Yeah, so the Skeena Knowledge Trust is laid out as applying to the Skeena, and it has to be limited in scale, or you end up with an infinite quantity of data, and the amount is already very large. So we're focused on the Skeena watershed. The Maps portal is a little bit broader in scope because we have data that's roughly clipped to the northwest, so about a quarter of the province is where most of our data is applying. And then we have base layers that are larger and then project layers that are smaller, but the general focus is this.
Okay, great. Thanks, Lizzie.